All right. In front of me on the table, I have a nice pizza and I have a bar of chocolate. Beautiful art that I made for you here. Now, fractions become much easier to understand when you imagine them as pizza or chocolate. You are going to understand what I mean by this now, but keep that in mind. For example, if this was my chocolate, it would be one whole chocolate. Do you agree with me? This is my chocolate bar. Pretend like this is the chocolate bar now. This is one whole chocolate. Yes? Good. Now, if I cut it into two pieces, it becomes a half a piece each. I'm just going to turn it like this so that the entire thing is in. It becomes a half a piece each, but it is still part of the whole. Do you see that? So this is the entire chocolate. I cut it into two, but I keep them next to each other. Does that mean I now don't have an entire chocolate anymore? I still do. I still have an entire chocolate. I just have two halves. 1/2, 1/2. What these little numbers mean and that little line means is 1 tells me how many pieces of the whole. No, wait. How can I put this to you? 2 is parts of the whole. Parts of a whole. How many parts was the whole divided into? 2. 1 is let me go Google. What do they say about, let's do numerators, because I wrote this for you. The top number is called the numerator. Numerator. Say it with me. Numerator. Good. The bottom number is always called the denominator. Say it with me. Denominator. Good. Now, I want to go see, what do they call, what numerator fraction is, oopsie, definition. Okay, let's go see. They say that the numerator, which is the top part, as I told you, see, they already gave me pizza. The top number in a fraction, it shows how many parts we have, how many equal parts. Ooh, okay, so that is what the difference is between these two. The numerator tells us how many parts, and the denominator tells us how many equal parts. I promise you, grade 2, I did know this information, I just didn't know how to say it. So, the numerator shows us how many parts, and the denominator shows us how many equal parts my whole has been divided into. That's one thing that I want to make very clear to you guys. A fraction is always a part of a whole. So these halves are part of a whole chocolate bar. If I cut it into threes, I call it a third. I write it 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And it's a third of the chocolate. It's a third of the whole. I know I'm putting my r out a lot, but it's just because I need you guys to hear it, and I'm not going to say third, okay? So the third, whatever. It's a third of the whole. That's how I would normally say third. I wouldn't say third. I just wanted to pronounce it. Oh, now I feel weird about that. Okay, quarter. If I had to divide it into 4 parts, it would be called a quarter. Sound familiar? Like when we are turning a shape, we can turn it a quarter of the way. This is another way to show a quarter. It's 1/4, 1/4 of the whole. Do you see? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's been divided into 4 parts. Equal parts. Then you can have a fifth, which means your chocolate bar has been divided into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth, 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 fifth. That's difficult to say quickly in a row. Try it quickly. Fifth, 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 fifth. Try to say it 5 times. Fifth, 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 fifth. I can't do it. Maybe you guys can. Good. Then, if it's divided into 6 parts, it is 1/6 of the whole. Sixth, sixth, sixth. 1/6, 1/6, 1/6. Okay. So that's what this is telling me. If I got this little piece, none of those, I only got that little piece, and you said, well, this is 1/6 of a chocolate bar, I would know, there were 5 more little pieces like this one that I already have, and that made up one entire chocolate bar. Okay, if we divide it into 7 parts, it's called a 7th. Mostly with fractions, except for half, third, and quarter. All of the rest, you literally say the number and put a th at the end. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, that type of thing. So, this is 1/7 of the chocolate bar. And this is an 1/8. I didn't finish this. Why did I not finish this? Hold on. Let me quickly finish this. Yes, come in. Oh, I wanted to Google how you write it. Okay. 8. How do you spell 8? Okay, thank you so much. More for me. Maybe that's called maybe that's going to go. Okay. Thank you, Margaret. Alright, so 8 we write just with a h at the back because it already has the t. Sorry, Margaret just brought me some of your guys' work. So 8. Oh, it feels so weird to write it this way. Do you guys remember 8 is written fatty, thinny, g, h, t, and then you just put the extra h at the back for the 8th. So basically, what you need to know about fractions is that fractions is the numbers that we write when we divide a whole something into different parts. For example, let's take this handy dandy pizza. Now, if we want to cut this pizza in half, hold on. If we want to cut this pizza in half, we would write like this. Actually, let me put it to the side so that we can quickly discuss. If we say we want to cut the pizza in half, what we are saying, remember, the top one is called our numerator. This is just something you will have to go study. And the bottom part is called our denominator. Good. So, numerator and denominator. Now, our numerator tells us how many parts, and our denominator tells us how many equal parts. Okay, now all of this means parts, I almost just fell off my chair, of the whole. Okay, that's what it means, parts of the whole. How many parts and how many equal parts of the whole. Now, if a half tells me there needs to be 2 equal parts of the whole, that means, just like we found our line of symmetry, grade 2, we find the middle, we can draw a line, and we can confidently say, all right, now I have divided my pizza into 2 halves. This is 1/2 because this is one piece of 2 pieces. So I can write 1/2 on this side because this is one side of 2. And I can write 1/2 on this side because it's one side of 2. Do you understand why it's called a half each? Let me just show you for in case you said no because I can't hear you. So if this is my pizza and I cut it in half, this is one part of the whole, and the whole was divided into 2 parts. So the bottom tells me how many parts are there. The one tells me how many am I showing you. I'm showing you one of the 2. There are 2. Each side is one of the 2, and the 2 at the bottom tells me how many parts the whole has been divided into. Good. If I say a quarter, divide the pizza into a quarter. Oopsie. The 1 is still my numerator, and the 4 is my denominator. We are going to start it very simple today. We're not going to go too into detail. We're just going to start numerator, denominator, and to see how to break up and read our numbers. So, I must divide it into 4 parts. I already have 2. Now I have to divide it into 4. So I'm literally just going the opposite way. And now I have 4 parts of my whole. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each one of these 4 parts is called a... Oh, I didn't. I thought I just drew on myself. So this is what it looks like. Each part is called a quarter. Why? Because the bottom tells me how many equal parts has my whole been divided into, and it has been divided into 4 equal parts. And the one at the top tells me how much does this little quarter represent? 1 of the 4 parts. This tells me 1 of the 4 parts. This tells me 1 of the 4 parts. This is 1 of the 4 parts. Good. And then you can carry on that way with eighths and 12ths and whatever. You know, it's going to be different every time. If you had to divide it into thirds, that makes it a bit more difficult because there's no line of symmetry for thirds. You kind of just have to guess, okay, it goes here and then there and then there, and these 3 are then 3 equal parts. 1 of the 3, 1 of the 3, 1 of the 3. That is what my numerator is telling me. And the bottom is telling me how many parts was my whole divided into? 3. Good. So that is basically fractions. I want us to be able to know that an eighth, how to read that? It is an eighth. This will be that number is 12. I think it's 12. 12. Yeah. So this one is actually different. 1/10 is a 10th. 1/4, not a fourth, we say I guess you can say a fourth, but we prefer a quarter. So I want you to go think about the different ways. 1/2, let me just quickly start. 1/2 is not tooth, it's a half. 1/3, third. 1/4, I almost just wrote a fourth, quarter. 1/5, fifth. 1/6, sixth. 1/7, here it becomes just adding a to her. 1/8, eighth. 1/9, ninth. But leave the a. 1/10, tenth. Okay, and so forth, and so on, and so on, and so on. I feel like that was a good introduction. I'm going to leave it there. Remember, when we do fractions, think about your pizzas and your chocolate bars. And these are mostly the shapes you will be working with when you have to divide something into fractions, or when you even have to color pictures about fractions. Tomorrow we will start doing actual work with fractions. I think it's tomorrow. Yeah, in your booklet. And I will show you exactly how to go about coloring fractions. Remember, when you read the fractions, 1/4 means 1 part of 4 parts. 1/2 means 1 part of 2 parts. 1/7 means 1 part. This is 1 part of 7 different parts. Remember it like that. Remember how to write the words. And remember, fractions are always parts of a whole. It was a whole pizza before you divided it into slices. It was a whole chocolate bar before you broke it up into different blocks. Okay, so there are a few things to think about after this video when it comes to fractions. I feel like this was a really good introduction, and I can't wait for tomorrow's activity so that we can start solidifying this knowledge.